Welcome, Pisces, your Scorpio full moon, 2 week deep dive forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. Across the 1st or the 2nd of May, depending on location, the moon at 11 degrees 20 in Scorpio is facing the sun in the earthy sign of Taurus. Full moons create a lot of tension because the sun and the moon are essentially competing. In a new moon, their energies are unified. In a full moon, they're challenging one another. Now, each lunation has its own unique influence. I'm going to share on screen this one, but from a purely Piscean viewpoint. By the end of the video, you'll have a clear understanding of what the next fortnight holds in terms of your energy, work, relationships, and finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. But please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So on the screen, your event chart. The moon there, right at the top of your chart, is in Scorpio, but the moon in Scorpio is in her fall. So it's not the strongest location. And also, Scorpio energy can be quite guarded, but the ninth house is actually very open. And maybe what's going to happen over the next 2 weeks is around your emotional world, you could find yourself absorbing some fresh and stimulating ideas. On the other side of the heavens, for the last 11 days, the sun has been in the pragmatic Taurus, asking you to use your thinking, but in a way which has some kind of outcome, which is functional or has some kind of practical benefit. But what we have on this year's particular Scorpio full moon is the role of Pluto. If you've been tuning into my videos recently, I have shared that Pluto can be a real ace in the pack for you, but it does depend on how you embrace the energy. Because Pluto in the 12th house can be very, very deep indeed, particularly around the psychological domain, but your memories, your past skills and experience, and instinctive wisdom can feed into events very constructively. But what can happen on this particular event is Pluto is in a square with the moon, but also square with the sun. So we have a T square. And this time, I think it's possible that some subconscious energies could inform your conversations over the next fortnight, because the third house is about quick chats. The ninth house is much more to do with philosophy, the things we really aspire to in terms of, in this case, our emotional ideal. So it may be that some information is going to come up which is a little bit unexpected. Someone could make comments that could rather jar. And those revelations may be something you need to absorb. But I want to reassure you that the moon is forging a beautiful link with the North Node in your sign. And that's through to the end of July, the true North Node, really encouraging you to keep trusting the process instinctively as far as your direction of travel. But you could have some key discussions over these 2 weeks where you do wonder if you are on the right track. And one of the things that third house energy can do is perhaps think about things a little too much. You've also got Uranus has just moved into your sector of emotion, home, and family. And that over the next 7 years will provide its own revelations and changes too. What we do have in the sign of Gemini is the lovely Venus. Can be about money in the fourth house, can give you a desire to redecorate, beautify your home, or maybe even get together with family members for a reunion. And that is in a very strong link with Pluto. So, in terms of your romantic situation, one of the things that could happen, and I must stress could, is that someone from your past may actually get in touch with you because of the third ninth can be messages, but it could be someone who has quite the evocative impact. Now, if you're grateful to hear them get in contact, um, that could be a really lovely thing. It may be an old school friend, work colleague, someone you went to college with. It could be romantic. But if you do have that reconnection, it could be something that is very pleasing indeed. So those messages and communications can be intriguing. If we think about it in terms of the elements, the moon is obviously watery, the sun is earthy, the sun's house is airy, and the moon's house is fiery. I'm a great advocate of the houses. You know, people talk a lot, even within the world of astrology, about the signs that planets are in, but don't always mention the houses. If you like, the moon could be the story that Shakespeare or the play that Shakespeare wrote, but how we use that nine energy maybe perhaps setting the play in a different environment, which provides extra insights or more stimulating ones. So it might not be at Stratford. It might be, for example, through dance. It might be set in some kind of Roman amphitheatre because the ninth house can be to do with foreign environments or overseas environments. And that could be enriching to the story, but it's just told in a different way. So messages are definitely part of the next 2 weeks. I think some can come up that surprise you. Someone could have an observation on you that feels like they're not being very loyal because the 12th house can be about secret enemies. And Pluto in that link with the sun could make whatever they convey to you feel very wounding because Pluto energy feels, or Pluto moon feels things profoundly deeply. And that's why it's so protective. But if you're trusting the process about where your conversations are going, some lovely conversations could play out over the next couple of weeks. As far as your finances are concerned, Mars, the planet of desire, has got past the limits in Saturn and your modern aquatic ruler Neptune. So the last 10 days has been a bit tricky. He's free of them, picks up energy, he's in the second house, which can be the desire to make more money. Jupiter, your ruler, traditionally is in the fifth house of speculation and risk, but they're in a square. So actually, if your finances are better, you're thinking the sun in the third house, but also your evaluation of your reasons, the moon in the ninth, could be a bit bolder, and you know, you may have some fortune from that. The only thing with Mars square Jupiter is that, particularly with Jupiter in the fifth house, if you really fancy someone, and Mars in the second house can give us a lot of desire for instant gratification and intimacy, just be thinking about how it may be, how it may play out, how it may be discussed, how it may be dissected. So I'm going to summarize those four areas for you shortly, Pisces. But just to say, I've slashed the price of my personal horoscopes. You can now get three for the price of one. Why? Because energy prices have gone up and people are feeling that. I want to share my love of astrology with you, which I've had since I was 14. Natal astrology helps us to understand our life purpose like nothing else. You get your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that are played out, get a more intimate understanding of them. You get your 12 months forecast free of your transits, and you get your draconic life soul karmic report too. Three for the price of one. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your May deep dive monthly forecast on the screen, yet to watch Uranus into Gemini 1 year forecast on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one to one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. Please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope fired to your device each morning, where you can get your early day celestial pit stop, please sign up for that below. So to summarize, I think in terms of all communication, it can be much more sensitive and perhaps even somewhat profound. And there may be some revelations, and some of those revelations may not be easy to hear, or those observations on you. But equally, you could tell someone something that you've been keeping inside for some while. So the power of communication is definitely amplified. However, when it comes to traveling anywhere, because the third, ninth house can be about that, the moon in the ninth house suggests that if you do go anywhere, you're going to want to go somewhere which really feeds your senses. And as a water sign, you understand that more than most. The node, however, in your own sign, linking with the moon suggests that travel could be pleasing as long as you don't sort of rush it. Mars in the second house, squaring up with Jupiter can be good if you are wanting to have a bit of a punt, but be aware of how much you can afford and whether you could afford to lose it. Old skills and experience can still feed into earning more money. But I feel around a relationship, if someone from your past does get in contact, the feeling of comfort that you knew them when you were younger, when it was life was more innocent, could be really compelling, but it doesn't mean to say that an old flame and you are going to get it back together. How could I know that? I can only tell you about the astrological archetypes. But I do feel as far as your finances or sense of personal value, with Mercury on Chiron and Mars away from Neptune and Saturn, that's looking better. Neat energy. Um, if you've got any dramas going on in your family, I think that could be a bit draining. Or if you're moving home or you're living somewhere that's too tight for space or cluttered, that could be something that gets you down a little bit. Thank you so much for joining me, Pisces. It's been a real pleasure. I look forward to seeing you again soon.